Visão, visão.
Olá, viva a todos, bem-vindos a mais uma edição do Visão Vermelha com um episódio muito especial. Entrevistas a ex-jogadores do Benfica e hoje não é exceção. Temos connosco um jogador que certamente vocês pela câmara já estão a reconhecer qual é, muitos de vocês. Ele percebe alguma coisa de português, mas vamos fazer aqui a conversão para inglês para ser mais confortável para ele. So, welcome everyone. Today we have the first English player to ever play for Benfica. So quite an historical one. He played for 1.5 years with us in 2 seasons, 97 to 99. He played 31 games. And from what I know, still holds close to his heart the time he spent at the Glorioso. He is now a sports commentator and has a degree in professional sports writing and broadcasting. So the right pick to be interviewed, I would say. So let's all welcome Mr. Scott Minto. Hello, welcome, Scott. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Boa tarde, boa noite. No, I don't know which time we say right now, and it would feel a bit more comfortable for me to do the interview fully in English.
Yeah.
Mas eu falava português.
That's
Agora
perfect.
não falo muito.
Pero yo sé que hablas español también, ¿no?
Hablo español, mi esposa es colombiana.
Muy bueno.
Entonces sí, hablo español.
Muy bien. But let's do it in English, I would say, right?
Let's do it in English.
Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time, on your busy schedule to be with us here from Visão Vermelha. It's a true pleasure and an honor that you took the time to have this conversation with us. Well, first of all, before going into your career at Benfica, I would like to ask you if you still follow Benfica and if you saw the game against Porto on Friday.
Do I still follow Benfica and did I see the game? I
Yes.
work for BT Sports.
Okay.
We cover the Portuguese league, and I am the co-commentator on the Portuguese football for BT
Nice.
Sports. So Porto Benfica was a game I've been looking forward to for weeks, and obviously I do lots of English football as well. But this is a game that I've been looking forward to for a long time. I was asked to do the Portuguese football at the beginning of last season.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an absolute pleasure because, as you said, and rightly so, I still hold Benfica very much in my heart. The short time I was there, it made a big impact on me, both professionally and personally. And I do see it as the proudest time of my career. So I'm very happy to have been a foreigner, to be the first Englishman to play for Benfica. So yes, I covered it. I worked on it. And, when Rafa scored, I was
Yes.
like that, but obviously you have to kind of be, speaking. I'm very honest. I'm very honest when I do the commentary. If I'm asked by the commentator, do you want Benfica to win? I say, of course I want Benfica to win. I want Benfica to win the title. But I will be very honest about the players and the performance.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was a very good performance. I thought Porto were unlucky actually to lose the game, going down to 10 men for more than an hour. I think they were superb. I think individually, Pepe and Otavio especially were fantastic. But you know what? 11v10, you have to get the win. At Benfica, while they didn't dominate the game, they came away with a really, really, really important win. The title is nowhere near won yet, but that's a massive win to go to the Dragão and get 3 points.
And even our coach said, it wasn't important how to win the match. The important thing was to win the match, and I think that's the most, the essential part, right? But I assume you've been following the season. What do you think about the season so far? It's been going quite well, right?
Yeah, here in England, we kind of want it to be what I want it to be. As much as I want Benfica to end up winning the title, you want the 3 big teams, and you have to say Sporting Braga are playing very well as well.
Yeah, that's true.
And that you want as many teams as possible to be up there. So Sporting, for me, they're coming back after what was a difficult start. There's rumours that Aston Villa here might be interested in Ruben Amorim. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. And we know that Ruben sort of wasn't happy with some of the players going, especially Mateus Nunes. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I think it's been a really good season. I think what you get with Portuguese football, I think in English with the players like Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunez and others as well, you know, Joao Cancelo, Ruben Diaz, and so many other players that are either Portuguese or have played in the Portuguese league. There's a lot of respect for the individuals and how the Portuguese football develops players.
Yeah,
obviously,
definitely.
you know, in terms of the league itself, it's not as financially strong as the big leagues around Europe, but I think it's been a really good season so far. It's just nice to see Benfica at the top of it.
Yeah, perfect. And you know, Ruben Amorim is, you know, a great benfiquista. So
Well, yes,
it's, you know,
yes.
it's a little bit in because everyone knows it. The sporting fans knows it. You know, he said it in the press conference, and everyone knows that I'm not, you know, I wasn't born a sportingista, but you know, I think everyone at us at Benfica kind of secretly hope that one day he comes back to Benfica, you know, because you know he is a benfiquista, so he's one of us. So that's always interesting.
Well, I think he's done a great job at Sporting.
Yeah, me too.
Fantastic
Amazing,
job. You know, so maybe, you know, coming to the Premier League, I'll be really interested to see how he does. So I hope he does come to the Premier League. I think he'll do well. And then, yeah, maybe back to Benfica, and then he can be there for a very long time winning titles.
Perfect. So let's go back 25 years ago in the history of the world. You arrived from Chelsea to Benfica in 1997, when the world was quite different. You know, no internet, no, you know, everyone was reading the newspaper every day.
Yeah.
So how did the invitation from Benfica get to you? And, you know, what did you think when you received that invitation? Like, Benfica wants to hire me? Who are these guys? What was your first reaction?
Oh, no, I didn't think, who are these guys? I mean, everybody knows in England Benfica and the history of Benfica, and Eusebio, one of, you know, the world's greatest ever players, and obviously having the pleasure to have met him and him to come to the training. But I think it was Graham Souness who brought it back to the club. Was an honour. I was coming towards the end of my contract at Chelsea. I wasn't 100% happy there, even though I was playing. We won the FA Cup final, and it was a big game there, and it was Chelsea's first major trophy for 26 years. So it was a big, big thing for Chelsea. But my contract was coming to an end. So the next day we went on the parade around London. There were over 100,000 people celebrating with us. And then the next day after that, we flew out to a post-season tour in Hong Kong, Brunei, and Thailand. And it was out there that I received a call from my agent to say that, look, Benfica, Bordeaux, and Deportivo La Coruña are very interested in you, but Benfica have made the sort of the most concrete offer. They seem to be the ones that have made this offer, and they're ready to sign you. So I was kind of like, wow, I didn't expect to play abroad.
And sorry to cut you off, you know, Coruña was also a big team at the time, and in the Spanish league. Well, not so much anymore, but they were also, you know, one of the top leagues in Spain.
Yeah, and I can't remember now if they actually made me a contract offer, but they were definitely speaking to my agent. And, you know, I think if I'd have sort of said, well, can we try down the La Coruña route, then you know, we could have seen what happened there. But I didn't. You know, for me, it was like, wow, this is one of the biggest clubs in Europe, Benfica. And I'd been on holiday in Portugal, loved it. I'd played in the Under-20 World Cup in Portugal back in 1991. And I just thought to myself, wow, you know, I'm not quite sure what's happening in Chelsea. They've offered me a contract, but who knows? They seem to be going down a foreign route under Ruud Gullit. And I just kind of thought to myself, it's been great at Chelsea, and had a really good season, played really well, scored some goals, made some assists. But this could be my one and only opportunity to play abroad. And I quite like languages at school. I got French, I passed in French and German. And I just thought to myself, wow, what a great opportunity. You know, what a fantastic opportunity to live in Portugal, to play for the biggest club in this country, to play for the club that's got such the history. And it was almost, say no. You know, it was almost like, this just feels in the heart the right thing to do. And I'm very much someone who, absolutely, I'm very much someone who feels the right thing, then do it. How scary it could seem. You know, just you have to do what you think is the right thing to do. No regrets in life. That's the way. You know, we all make mistakes, but no regrets.
Yeah,
So
you learn from mistakes, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I told my agent, let's do it.
Yeah.
And we came back from the tour. I went straight to a hotel in London, signed like a pre contract because it was subject to a medical. Flew out to Portugal a few days later, did the medical. And Chelsea were very angry with my agent, saying, you know, how could you not tell us about this? But we were like, no, let's do it. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
And and sign then.
Yeah, you had your mind made up, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if this is true. If it's a rumor. Did you have any contact with someone at Benfica or Mr. Tony or someone from Benfica, or just through the agent?
Zero contact I had. It was Tony. I think my agent had obviously let clubs know in England and also around Europe that I was going to be a free transfer. And at that time, you can go be a free only in Europe, but in England, you'd have to pay a fee. Now, once I'd agreed to go with Benfica, I got a call from an agent who worked for Newcastle, and Kenny Dalglish was the manager at the time. Now, I was born near Liverpool. We moved down south when I was young, but I was a Liverpool fan growing up. I'm not now, I have to say, and haven't been since I was about 18, 19. But back then, Kenny Dalglish was my favourite player. I'd have posters of him on the wall. So the agent said, look, he wants to sign you. And I said, look, I've agreed to go to Benfica. He said, well, will you at least talk to him? And I said, it's Kenny Dalglish. Of course I'll talk to him. Yeah. So he called me up. You know, it was an absolute honour to speak to him. And at the end of the conversation, I said, look, you know, I had your pictures on my bedroom wall, the posters and stuff. And he said, oh, I'm not that old, am I? But I just thought this feels right to go abroad. This really feels the right thing to do. I don't know if I'm going to have another opportunity. A country like Portugal that I'd already really liked and been on holiday with, as I said, and a club the size of Benfica, I have to give it a go. I have to see what happens. And he was very understanding. Halfway through pre-season at Benfica, Harry Redknapp rang me up when I was at when he was at West Ham, and said, "Would you come back?" I'm jumping a bit here, but he said, "Would you come to West Ham?" And I said, "Look, Harry," and we'd gone to Holland and Brazil, and just on and off the pitch, it couldn't have gone any better. I'll tell you what happened on my first day, though, trying to speak Portuguese. Yeah. But you know, he said to me, well, just say you're homesick, because if a foreign player said to me, I'm homesick, I'd let him go back home. I said, Harry, but I'm not. I'm absolutely loving it here. And I didn't realize how good it could be. It's even better than I dreamt. Yeah. So, I had opportunities elsewhere, but I'm glad I chose Benfica.
So you fly to Lisbon, you have your first training. What was your, like, of course you've heard about Benfica and a big club and everything, but what surprised you the most? You know, is it, the locker room, the stadium, Eusebio, what did you make you feel like, wow, this is amazing?
Well, that feeling was before I even touched ground in Lisbon. Whereas you're flying down, and obviously it was the older Stadio da Luz. Yeah. And you see all the red seats as you're flying. Yeah. You can see that, and it's like, this is almost like, Big Ben in England, and just famous landmarks around the world. So to without even touching on the ground at Lisbon, you're seeing the Stadio da Luz. So that was the first thing. The second thing was, I just thought to myself, look, I don't know anyone here. I don't know the language. I bought a Portuguese book to read, but of course in Portuguese, it's not always how it's written. Yeah, true. Spanish is easier learning that way, because it is. Every letter has a meaning. In English it doesn't. In Portuguese it doesn't. So my first attempt at Portuguese was to the press officer at Benfica, and I sort of looked him in the eye, shook his hand, and said "Bom dia." And he's laughing in my face, saying, "Oh, bom dia, bom dia, bom dia." I'm thinking, my first attempt at Portuguese, and a simple thing like "good morning," and I'm not saying it right, because obviously I didn't know it's "bom dia." Yeah, it's hard. So I remember walking through the door, or just about to open the door, thinking, you don't know anybody here. You don't know the language. Your first attempt was a massive failure.
So you went by yourself, right? You were
yeah. So they'd given me a car and to drive around in, and obviously I arrived like a week before to get to know the place and where we'd stay, where we'd live. We ended up living in Cascais. I was with a girlfriend at the time that I actually split up with while I was out there. So I drove in. I knew where to go, but yeah, know anyone. And I remember opening the door thinking, just go for it. You got nothing to lose. And, there was a lot of people who, what I didn't realize was, and a lot of Portuguese people told me, was that, we're the Portuguese oldest allies, the British. So there's a big sort of link and good feeling towards the two countries.
True.
And so many people wanted to practice their English with me that people were talking to me. So I'm spending 2 minutes on saying a sentence in Portuguese and they're answering back fluent in 10 seconds in English. And I'm thinking, I'm never going to learn this Portuguese. But it was one of those where I just thought, just go for it. First day pre-season, so we did some running. And I remember thinking, how can I sort of integrate myself? Okay, how do I say, and you won't use the word here, but I'm sure you can imagine. How do you say I'm very, very tired in English? And again, I won't say it in Portuguese, but so the first words I learned pretty much were swear words.
Yeah, as usual in these situations.
And I'm walking around and I'm saying, I'm very, very tired, in a different way. And they're all laughing. And I think they just like the fact that I tried to integrate myself. I made lots of mistakes. But the important thing was I tried. I tried.
For sure.
So 5,000 people first day pre-season. I'm like, wow. And then we had one game, like a presentation game at the Stadio de Luz against Lazio, and 80,000 people there. A pre-season game with 80,000.
Yeah, normal.
And the lights were dimming. There was red carpet, and we were being introduced individually. I don't know if they still do it now. And I'm thinking, is this football or is this Hollywood? It's Minto, all this kind of thing. So it just made me realize I'm at a really big club here, and I've got to give it absolutely everything. I owe these people who are coming here to see the players that are going to wear the shirt of Benfica for the season, going to represent them on the pitch. True. I have to give it absolutely everything.
Yeah, makes total sense. And I'm 45, and I remember clearly those seasons. I was there most of the games, so I saw you play many times, and I remember you clearly. A lot of Benfiquistas still do, not the 20-year-olds, but the older guys like me. And your debut on the Glorioso jersey was at Stadio de Luz on a 4-0 against a team from the Alentejo called Campões. What memories do you have from that game? Do you remember it clearly when you entered the pitch?
Well, I mean, first of all, just going a little bit further back, I've got Tony a lot to thank for, because Manuel Jose was the coach at the time. And when I flew to go to the medical, he said something in Portuguese, and I said, well, what did he say? And he said, I hope he's as good as you say he is. I said, what, has he not even seen me play? He said, no. So Manuel Jose hadn't seen me play when I signed. It was Tony that signed me. So I've got him to thank for me playing for Benfica. And I have to say, I probably had the best pre-season of my career, or one of them, because I wasn't initially in the team. And the very first game, I'm sitting on the bench thinking, what am I doing? Am I going to be in the reserves here in the second team for Benfica and not playing when I could have been at Chelsea and I've just won the FA Cup? I just thought, just get your head down, work hard. And Calado, who was my roommate, he told me that Manuel Jose said sort of like, he's playing so well, I've got to play him. So I started that first game. Now my dad and my brother, my dad hates flying and doesn't like hot weather, but he flew
perfect place to go to Portugal. Yeah.
Absolutely. I like flying and I love hot weather. So he with my brother flew to the game to watch it, first game for Benfica. And I remember, I think, I don't know how many were there, but 50, 60,000 maybe. Just thinking, again, just go for it. And we won 4-0.
O Benfica, depois de uma pré-época desastrada, apresentou-se no campeonato em casa, forte a golear o Campões com um golo monumental declarado logo no início da partida a abrir o marcador. Jogando bem, com bons movimentos atacantes, os encarnados chegaram aos 2-0, pela vedeta brasileira. Verdadeira coqueluche do Benfica no início do campeonato, Paulo Nunes. Com arte a estrear-se, a marcar no campeonato português. Na segunda parte, Paulo Nunes bisou para o 3-0. João Pinto, capitão, fechou a conta 4-0. Um belo golo, um ótimo resultado a fazer o Benfica entrar na cena do campeonato, desmentindo os insucessos do defesa.
It went really well, and I remember. So I was always one of the guys afterwards to take my time in the bath or the shower, and just sort of chat. So we got home back to Cascais. God knows what time. It must have been midnight, maybe even a little bit later than that. I had a little glass of wine, and my brother and my dad overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. And I said, "Dad, this isn't a holiday. This is my lifestyle now.
This is where I live.
This is where I live. This is
Yeah.
home." And it was amazing. It was surreal, but amazing.
Did your dad change his mind and he wanted to come more often to Portugal?
No.
No.
he did come a few times, and my mum, bless her, as well, because they were separated and still are, but very close. They're still friends. So she'd come at different times. More so in the second season I was there because I was single, and I said, "Look, Mum, come over whenever you want." Yeah. So I'd take her to the big shopping centre that's opposite the Stade de Luz. Drop her off there. That's it, and do the training session, then pick her up afterwards. And so Mum, Dad, I think a lot of people missed out because I said to them, especially in that second season, "Look, I'm here on my own. Come out." And not many did, but all you pay for is the flight. You've got free accommodation,
free sunshine.
It's free sunshine. Amazing.
So you had colleagues as Michel Prudhomme, one of the greatest ever, João Pinto, Nuno Gomes, Calado, like you mentioned, Poborski, Brian Dean, Gamarra. So when you started practicing with the squad, what players surprised you the most during training? That one you said, "Wow, this guy is like amazing. I had no idea." Well,
I think it's a really good question because there's different players that for me signify different things. So João Pinto was captain, the main man, and I've got nothing but admiration for him because I likened him, and don't forget Eric Cantona at the time was over in England playing for Manchester United and was seen as like the king, the leader. And I saw João Pinto like that because what I really liked about him is even when things weren't going well, he would always receive the ball. There'd always seem to be one, if not two men on him. Trying to tackle him, but he was always never hiding, always wanting the ball, always trying to create something. So that he was incredible. Nuno Gomes, I think, signed the same season from Boavista, and we got on really well because he was really good in English. He was fluent in English, and even recently, funnily enough, just about 6 months ago, it was my sister-in-law's birthday, so my brother's wife. And she always kind of liked Nuno, thought he was a good-looking boy.
Yeah, he's very famous with the ladies.
Yeah. So I sort of just texted him and said, WhatsApped him and said, "Nuno, it's my sister-in-law's birthday coming up. Do you mind just sending a little 10-second video?" And within an hour, he sent one back. So, this, again, was just literally a few months ago. Yeah. So really good guy, got on really well with him, and obviously an incredible goal scorer. Yeah. And then for me, there was Calado, who actually I thought was our best player in that season.
He had an amazing season.
Absolutely, all the reputation of Nuno Gomes and João Pinto, and as well as they played, for me, Calado was centre midfielder who again received the ball even if he had someone behind him. If things weren't going well, he'd always look for it. He'd be the one to create something from that midfield. So as good a players as we had, the youngster Hugo Leal came through, incredibly intelligent guy. And a really technically good player. It was Paulo Madeira, Gamarra left.
Yeah, he was there. He was there not that long, but I remember he was just an amazing center back. He was just so good. Yeah.
We had Ronaldo, who was very good centre half as well. I'm not sure when Carroll came. I don't think he was there right.
He was there.
It might have been in the January.
Yeah, he was there. He was hired by Vale Azevedo, and he was hired with two other players in mid-season, I think. And his first
I
game
think
was
so.
at Estádio das Antas at Porto. So I think he arrived somewhere mid-season or something like that.
So he wasn't there at the time, but yeah, you know, some fantastic players, and obviously Michel in goal, just so calm and cool, and you know, he was almost treated like a god out there, wasn't he? And just a really nice guy. And I also got on well with Martin Pringle.
Yeah, the
You know,
Swedish
obviously
guy.
again, absolutely. So there was him, Michel, Martin, that we got on really well within the dressing room, as well as the Nuno Gomes and Palamadera and Joao as well.
And who was the funniest player in the locker room? Do you remember like any banter you guys would have?
Funniest. Palamadera was very funny. He was always joking all the time.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, he was good.
Any stories you remember from back then? You know, some pranks or some initiation process that they put you through or something?
No, they didn't actually.
Yeah.
And what was really nice, I think we were might even have been in Brazil. It was my birthday on August the 6th. I don't know if we were in Holland. We were definitely abroad somewhere. And it was my birthday. And for me, I'm used to sort of playing or training on my birthday. And from a professional point of view, don't celebrate it. Wait till you get home and the family come round, or celebrate it at the weekend on a Sunday. But they brought a cake.
Sweet.
And we all had a slice of cake. And it was just, wow, this is, you know, incredible. I don't know. I was really touched by it. I just thought it was a really nice gesture from the club to do that while we're abroad. And it made me feel even more so part of the team. And but I wasn't asked to do any initiation ceremonies. I remember the start of the second season under Graham Souness. We went to Austria in pre-season, and he got a karaoke machine, and he said, "No one is leaving this room without singing a song."
Wow, that's interesting because he's looked at, you know, as a, you know, uptight and, you know, strict guy, and he was the one bringing in the karaoke machine.
Absolutely, and I've got a story about my only sending off of my career, and that was under Graham Souness. We can come to that in a bit, but no, it was just a general. Again, it was one of those where I've never been in the dressing room where you shake everybody's hand, and we sort of did that. And again, I just think that was a really nice touch. I think Joao was doing it. I don't think everyone did it, but I found myself doing it in the beginning, and then I just carried on doing it every single day. And I think it was a way of, doesn't matter who you are, whether you're in the team or not in the team, whether you're Portuguese or a foreigner, and look you in the eye and say,
like in the beginning of the training, when you get there every day?
When you get there. Before you get changed.
So that's not very common in other teams, you know, not that proximity. No, you just get there, you get dressed, and you go to the pitch, and
you sort of have a laugh with whoever you want to have a laugh with, but you know, you may be in a little bit of a corner with a group of people, and you know, in some clubs there can be what we call cliques, which is not good, like groups of different people here. But in terms of one big team, it's not like that. It didn't feel like that. It felt like we were all one big side, so it was good.
It's also, I would say, a little bit cultural, you know, because it's quite a Portuguese thing to wherever you go, you say bom dia or you greet everyone. So I think that's a little bit of culture in there as well. Right?
It's nice.
And are you still in contact with? Oh, well, you said Nuno Gomes, but are you still in contact with any other players that were your colleagues at Benfica?
Well, Joao Pinto. We're sort of connected to each other on Instagram, and he puts something and I like it, and I put something on mine and he likes it, and he actually included me on a tag, and it was a couple of years ago, which is how I then sort of thought about starting following him, and he followed me. Something to do with Benfica and a team photo, and it was nice of him to include me on that, and I just thought, you know, great memories. So although we don't sort of individually message each other, we always follow each other and like each other things that we post. Who else is there? Palamadera, the same as well. Nuno. Who else is there?
And
that's probably about it, actually.
What about your British colleagues? Because, you know, after you had Gary Charles, Mark Pembridge, Dean Saunders, Michael Thomas, Steve Arkness. You know, a lot of, you know, the coach, like you said, Graham Souness. Are you still in contact with any of them?
Graham Souness, in contact with now and again, and but actually no, none of the other British players. You know, are really good guys. You know, Brian Dean, good guy. He joined halfway through the first season. Michael Thomas, I know the fans didn't take to him, but lovely guy. Really got on well with him. Mark Pembridge is a very sort of, you know, quiet Welshman, but really good player, very good left foot, and just a really nice guy as well. Gary Charles, we actually played for West Ham at the same time. Now he signed for Benfica the day I left.
Oh, okay.
So the day he arrived, I actually had a quick breakfast with him, and because we kind of knew each other, I think from the England under-21s, and I just said, look, you love it. It's amazing. He had his own personal issues to deal with, which I think is out there anyway, that people know about, and he's come through that, which is nice to hear. But we played with each other at West Ham and became good friends there. But, you know, no, to be honest with you, it's one of those where, you know, everybody does their own thing. Everybody's working.
Yeah, everyone's busy,
everybody
right?
has their own family. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
of course. Life happens, right? And then, you know, you were coached by, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mario Wilson for not that long. You had Manuel José also not that long. And then, of course, Graham Souness. And I believe also Mr. Shell for a few games. What do you remember from each coach? What were the things that you're like, okay, I liked working with this guy because of this, for example?
Well, I only actually remember, I'm pretty sure it was only Manuel José and
Graham Souness.
Yeah. I don't know whether Shell had some games. Manuel José was sacked, and then before Souness, Graham came in.
Yeah.
But I was injured at that time.
Oh, okay.
So I remember told and trying to read my Portuguese and read the papers. So it'd be, you know, Jogo or Record or A Bola. And it was, you know, even now, funny enough, I did an interview recently and I said, yeah, you know, 3 daily sports papers and almost match reports on the training sessions and, you know, that type of thing. So it kept you on your toes. It was, you know, you had to be at it all the time. It's a good thing. And I remember my first 3 games, looking at the marks that I was given, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm playing pretty well here. I'm making a good impact. The fans seem to like me. I know you know whether you're playing well or not. And I'm thinking I'm playing well at left back. And then I look at the marks and it's 5. And then the next game it was 5. And then the next game it was 5. Now here in England, it's marked out of 10. And I'm thinking, and 5's not a great mark out of 10. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, you know, I can't do much more than this. I'm only getting a 5.
The press is hard. The press is hard in Portugal.
Well, so then it was the international break, and my brother had arranged to get married, and I was the best man at the wedding, and I said to Emmanuel José, look, do you mind if I go back for the week? I can train with Chelsea. I've spoken to them already, so I won't lose any fitness, but at least I can go back home, you know, spend time with my family. And I think because I made it a good impact and from a personal point of view, he said, yes, absolutely. So I was training with Chelsea and the assistant manager said to me that Valencia had been in touch with them and that they were about to make a bid to buy me. And I was a bit like, Valencia's a very, very nice club.
Also sunny.
Also sunny.
Also sunny city.
Also on the
ocean.
beach. Exactly. Cities on the beach. Oh, amazing.
Yeah. That's a trick.
But I just thought, at Benfica, and I love it there, and it couldn't have gone any better. So almost the part of me didn't want anything to happen. And the very next game, I got injured, and I was out for 4 months.
What kind of injury was that?
It was a lateral knee ligament injury.
Oh, you had surgery?
No, I didn't. And I thought I was going to. And I actually even said to the doctor, you know, why am I having surgery? He said, no, it's fine, but you'd be out for 3 or 4 months. Wow. I'm like, oh God, okay. So it was really disappointing in that sense. But then obviously during that time, the team didn't sort of do so well and Manuel José got sacked. And I can't remember now if Shell took over in those few games. But by the time I came fit again, Graham was the manager. Now, what I really liked about Shell, obviously, apart from being a Benfica legend, just a really humble, nice guy. And when we went on tour to Holland, I said to him, look, I really want to learn Portuguese, but not just Portuguese. I want to learn Portuguese, like, you know, man on, offside, turn, you know, time, just little things like that, that this in the split second in a football match
make a difference. Yeah.
Really give that communication to the player. If I give it to Collado and you've got time to turn in I've forgotten what it is now, but or man on, you know, give me straight back, that type of thing. So we sat down and must have written down about 50 words of this is what it is, this is English, this is how you say it in Portuguese. So he took the time out to do that with me, which was really, really nice of him. So I've got utmost respect of not just how he was as a player, but how he is as a person.
Yeah.
But yeah, Graham Souness was manager by the time I came back to being fit. And being a Liverpool fan as a kid, I told him, I said, yeah, I was a Liverpool fan as a kid. I said, you were my third favourite player. He was like, only third. And I said, yeah, King Kenny was number one. And Alan Hansen was number two. And
it seems that he's the kind of guy that he likes banter. You know, he likes to have a little bit of banter and, you know, some conversation, stuff like that, right?
yeah, we got on really well. And obviously, in that second season, I mean, he did really well in that first season, really well. The gap was closing. And I'll tell you the story about, you know, my only sending off of my career was in a Benfica shirt and under Graham Souness. Yeah, so when I came back from being fit, Graham Souness was the manager. And when you think about, it's strange because I left in the January of '99, where actually, there were a lot of Brits over. I know that a lot of the Portuguese didn't like that. I like to think that I wasn't part of that because I wasn't brought over by Graham Souness and I was already there. But actually, by the time I left, I'm pretty sure in January '99, we were still joint top. So from a playing point of view, is okay. And that first season, what Graham did was for me sensational because, you know, we were a long way off Porto. And I remember, you know, the sort of run we went on, the winning run, and we went really close. And my only sending off of my career was in the Benfica shirt under Graham. And I can't remember who we played now, but we were away from home and it was 0-0. And I kept on going past this player and the referee, he kept on fouling me and the referee kept on free kick, but no yellow card. I'm thinking, he's fouled me about 8-9 times and he should have been off by now. They should be down to 10 men and we've got to win this game. Porto keep on winning. So we've got to keep on winning. We've got to put the pressure on them. And then about the 88th minute, he fouled me again, another free kick, no yellow cards. And I just got up and I kicked the player up the backside and didn't even look, knew it was a straight red. Yeah. So that, you know, I walked off and I'm thinking, oh no, what have I done? What have I done?
But that was refereeing in Portugal in the 90s, you know, it's kind of historical, you know, Porto has always been protected and, you know, sometimes Benfica players, you know, they get fouled, they constantly, no one sees a yellow card and then they lose it. They're like, yeah, I'm done with this, you know. So
yeah, well, look, I won't comment on the referees, but what I will say is I walked in and sat down and I'm thinking, oh no, what am I going to say? Because if we don't win this game and I've got sent off, Graham Souness, who has a big reputation as a player and a manager and a person to not get on the wrong side of.
Yeah. He's going to make you sing some karaoke.
He's definitely going to come for me. Yeah. So anyway, 2 minutes later, Karol Boborski comes in. He's been sent off. I'm like, oh, right. So then you hear the trudging of the boots coming in and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what's he going to say? And then I just suddenly thought to myself, hold on a second, this is Graham Souness. If I just apologise to him, I mean, he's committed almost assault on the pitch before, you know, with some of the tackles he's put in as a player. Surely he would forgive me. So anyway, so they've all come in, it's 0-0, and he's come for me. Scott, what the heck were you doing? And
not necessarily in those words, right?
Not necessarily in those words. I've toned it down a bit, as you can imagine, Tiago. And Gaffer, so sorry. I apologise to you. I apologise to the lads. Referee kept on giving a foul, but not a yellow card, and I just lost it. Again, I'm sorry. If you want to fine me or discipline me, I won't appeal. I accept it. Again, I apologise to you, and again, I apologise to the lads. Anyway, he's paused for a couple of seconds, and he's not said anything else. He's gone straight for Karol, So he's gone, Carol, what the heck were you doing? Carol's come back at him, arguing. In the end, Graham Souness has got Karel Baborski up against the wall like that, and we're peeling Graham Souness off Karel Baborski in the dressing room. And after I said, Carol, know your manager. What he's done on the pitch, maybe he didn't know, I don't know, but I had an advantage there. What he's done on the pitch is nothing compared to what we've just done there.
He was being kind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I got away with it and Carol didn't, but that was the only sending off of my career, and that was under Graham Souness.
Wow, that's quite a story. I had no idea that happened, right? And you had two presidents at Benfica, Manuel Damasio and Vale Azevedo. One is still very famous for the wrong reasons. I don't know if you know, but he's living in London actually. God knows what he's up to. But what kind of stories do you remember from each of them? I'm sure they have like really different, perspectives and ways of looking at football. Any special stories you remember?
Not really, because I think with the presidents, they were in the background.
Mm-hmm.
The first president, I hardly saw him at all. Maybe 3 or 4 times maximum. I think we were taken out quite early on with like a meal. He had a very glamorous wife, and she was sort of, looking after the wives of the players as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
she was called Margarita Prieto, I think that was her name.
Okay.
Margarita,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, she was a very glamorous person, and I think she wanted to make sure the wives, girlfriends felt comfortable. So I think she sort of took them out a few times for meals or arranged meals, and I think that was a nice touch. But with him, didn't really come across him that much. With the second one, and I heard just the other day, he's in London somewhere, and I think he's still wanted for questioning, isn't he? I remember the only thing I can remember of him really is coming in when we'd finished second in the league, and then the start of the following season we had to qualify. Was it Maccabi Haifa we actually played in? I can't remember who we played. My memory's not great in the qualifying. And he basically said, look, we'll make sure you kind of looked after if you qualify for the Champions League group stages. And we won the first game 6-2, and we were thinking, we've done this. And then we lost the second game 2-1, but still qualified. But he wasn't happy with the performance and tried to backtrack on what he said he would do.
Of course.
So Joao and a few of the senior lads, basically made sure, no, we're not having that.
Did he pay you all your salaries, or does he still owe you money from Benfica? Or?
No, fortunately they didn't know. I mean, the thing was, I think there was only 2 times in the 18 months or 19 months I was there that I got paid on time, and the rest were almost up to 60 days. And we'd heard that there's a FIFA ruling that if you don't get paid for 60 days, you can go on a free transfer. So they always paid like 2 or 3 days beforehand, which was wrong.
Okay, very Portuguese,
but. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know about that. But what I would say is, I think even if it had gone over the 60 days, not many would have said, right, give me a free transfer, because we were playing for Benfica. I wouldn't have done. I loved it there. I loved living where I was living and playing for Benfica. So, that's the only kind of memory I have of him, really.
And and Porto won both championships when you were there. And what do you think separated both teams? I mean, Benfica had amazing players, right? Unfortunately, there were no titles during those 2 seasons. What do you think, made the difference for, Porto to win those 2 titles and for Benfica not to be able to win with such great players and, good managers and so on?
Yeah, I mean, who was the centre forward for Porto at the time? Was it Jardel?
I can look into that. I'm not a big Porto fan, so I don't know that much about them.
Neither was I, obviously.
Yeah,
but I think he scored about 30 goals, and
most likely it was Mari Jardel. Yeah, I can double check that.
I think it was Mari Jardel, and we had great players up front as well. But he seemed to score. Again, you'd have to check the numbers, but he was scoring a lot of goals.
He was a goal machine.
A lot of
goals
goals
for sure.
Yeah. So honestly, I think he was the difference.
Yeah.
I think he was the main difference, because we did have really good players. We were winning most of the games. Obviously, that first season we didn't start well under Manuel Jose, and the second season, as I say, under Graham Souness, he brought Brits over, and I know it wasn't always seen as a popular thing to do, but I'm pretty sure that come January when I left, we were still sort of joint top with Porto. So although there were things, and the media were making things of it, on the pitch and points wise, we were still right up there. And when I left, there was still a chance of Benfica winning the title. And the only reason I left Benfica was because it came back to London. A really good contract, but it was really to do with coming back to London. I was living on my own, as I said. And if I was with my wife that I'm with now, then I would have stayed out there, and I would have stayed out there for as long as possible. Her being Colombian, she's quite happy living anywhere in the world. I loved Portugal, and I'm sure we would have stayed there for as long as possible. But when you're living on your own and having the training, and then you're going home, and I'm no chef, Tiago, I have to say, I'm sticking in I was sticking in a microwave lasagna, and not eating exactly how nowadays footballers have their own chefs, don't they?
True.
I was going to the restaurants and they were really good, especially the ones in Guincho, Cascais, and sometimes in the Guincho coast. I would go there on my own, and they'd go like, "No, don't pay." I'm like, "No, don't, come on," like, no, it's fine. And I was just like, wow,
Benfica player.
And I think they realised as well that I was single, that I was on my own, and I was just killing time. But it was almost. How could you not love? I love seafood. I love fish. I love the sea, the ocean, the sun. So you want to be out in it, and it was lovely. But I was living on my own, and for the majority of the day, even with the Brits, they had their own families and stuff. So I wasn't always spending time. So I was coming home and being on my own. So I said to myself, I love it so much out here. I wouldn't go back to England. I would go back to London to be close to my family and do that. And when West Ham came in for me, and it was a really good contract as well, I thought, I'll do that. But I don't know if you remember in the Champions League, I don't think that second place in the group qualified. I don't think there was a round of 16 that there is now. I think it was straight to the quarterfinals.
8, I think so.
Yeah, so if there had been a round of 16, if we were still in the Champions League, I wouldn't have gone. I would have stayed, because I would have thought, let's just see how far we can go. So if we'd have won that group, I would have stayed. But because we finished second and didn't qualify, I thought, well, all the reasons I've said, let's go back to London.
So you left mainly for, I would say, family reasons, and then because you had also a good contract from West Ham.
Yeah.
Kind of
number
made
one
sense.
was family reasons. Yeah, number one was family reasons. So if I, as I say, I got to meet a few people who worked in the casino at Estoril. Some lovely people, and there was a lot of English dancers there as well, and they were really nice people. So we'd meet for lunch, and really, really nice girls. So we
don't say anything, you might regret it.
No.
We don't have a big viewing, only 6,000 followers on YouTube. So, but still be careful. Honestly. News travel fast.
Oh, absolutely. No. There's nothing to sort of say, and I've said it before as well. But just English dancers out there, and because I was on my own, it was nice to sort of meet up with different people.
You were like 26 or something, right? Just like young guy.
26, yeah.
26, yeah.
Single guy,
It's interesting because you say family reasons. It's I think that happens. I don't know that many footballers nowadays, but I think that happens more frequently than people expect. Because the player was here for a year and a half, and then or 2 years, and then he left, to make more money. But actually, players are people too. They have family reasons. They are homesick. But I don't think that's very acceptable in a way. So players don't really talk about it. I left because I missed my family, or I missed my friends, or But it's I think it's something that players should talk about more often, because people might understand. Oh, okay, they're people just like us.
I think I don't know what it's like in Portugal, but it's a big thing now about mental health
True.
and getting men to talk about mental health. And I've always been someone who I'm very honest with myself, and I can be very brutal with myself. But I count myself very, very lucky to have lived the life that I've lived, both playing wise, been in the media almost as long as I've been as a player as well, the clubs that I've played for. So even when things weren't going well, I was always able to tell myself, the life you live, look what you're doing, look what you're doing compared to the majority of the population, wherever you are. So I've always counted myself as very, very lucky. So yeah, I think I'm honest, Tiago. I'll be honest with you. It wasn't necessarily a monetary thing, even though the monetary thing was a good factor. If I was with my wife that I'm with now, then stayed at Benfica, there'd have been no reason for me to have gone back to England, because I love the Portuguese lifestyle, and I took her to Cascais before we had children a few times. And she's in love with the Portuguese food. For her, it's the best food in the world. And I sort of it's quite funny because is it Linguada Delícia, where there's like a fried banana on top of the Dover sole? I think that's what it's called. And this lovely little sort of side street place in Cascais that served it in oil, and she loved it so much. When we went to our local restaurant here in England, we said, look, do you have this fried banana on it? And we're like, no, we've not heard of that. So the next time we'd bring a banana.
Yeah, so they can fry it
to the restaurant and say, can you fry this? Put this on do it like this. And, to copy. And I definitely would have stayed in Portugal because I love the lifestyle. I love the people. I love the food. I love the weather. And playing for a club the size of Benfica was an absolute honor.
Yeah, and before we move away from Benfica, on an interview you once said that, I'm going to say it in Portuguese and then in English, Benfica was like a gigante adormecido no manicômio, so the sleeping giant at the nut house, right? What do you meant exactly with that?
Sleeping giant at the nut house? At
the nut house, yeah. I don't know. I saw this on an interview.
Where was this?
It's on the internet, so I guess it's not legit.
No, if
I'll send that.
Quotes, then
I'll send that link over to you.
No,
I'll send that
I've
link
never
over
said that
to you.
In the nut house. No.
Okay.
No. So I'm actually quite. I've got another interview with somebody in the Record on Monday, and whenever I've done interviews about Benfica, I'm now very careful about who I do it with, because I did one once with an English journalist.
Yeah,
and I know Graham Souness. There might be some things when the reputation of him might not be as high as it is over here, and what happened. The second part of his time supersedes the first time. But I've got nothing positive to say about him. I really enjoyed playing under him personally.
Yeah,
and there was an article where the journalist said, "Can I, talk to you?" Blah blah blah. So I did the interview. It came out, and it used words in quotes that I didn't say.
Wow.
And I texted him, I said, what the heck are you doing? Yeah. I did not say that. You tell me where I said that. He apologized, but damage was done. So I actually called Graham up and I said, Graham, there's a piece in here. He hadn't seen it. Yeah. I said, I just wanted to know that the journalist has made that up, and I did not say
crazy.
That. And he said, "Oh, Scott, don't worry. I know what it's like." So I'm very careful about doing it. I don't do many interviews about Graham Souness and Benfica, to be honest with you. So again, I don't know where that's come from. I would not say that, because again, all I can say is my time at Benfica, I have not got one negative thing to say about it. Maybe I was said, crazy in terms of paying the money or something like that.
Yeah,
but I would not use the term nut house at all.
Yeah, I didn't mean at all to put you on the spot, because if you say nut house,
no, it's fine. It's fine.
When you say nut house, Benfica 97, 98, I know why that would happen, because of Vale Azevedo. And I know that I spoke with Brian Dean, and he said hardly they were, getting paid on time, and that's why he left, because there was no money. So I didn't say it like in a negative way, more on a positive way, like the sleeping giant, But I think that's also why I would assume, it's hard for us to get ex-players to be on these interviews, right? Because I think that people are kind of afraid to say something in which they're misinterpreted, and this call we're having is going to go straight to YouTube. We're not going to touch anything. So maybe that's the reason why players, when they speak to the press, everything is just pretty much the same. We're going to do our best, play every day. We don't really get to know the person, behind the player, because I think they're kind of scared of being, misinterpreted and stuff like that. Would you agree that that's what happens?
Absolutely. And I find that the bigger the club, the more journalists kind of maybe twist words. And look, I played for Chelsea, and Chelsea now is one of the biggest clubs in the world. It wasn't quite back then, but it was on the way up. It was a big, big club. And I played for West Ham, and the season I came back after Benfica, at West Ham, we finished 5th, which has been West Ham's highest ever Premier League finish and second highest ever. And we had some very, very good players there. So I've played for some big clubs. But for me, I just feel that Benfica, the biggest club in its country, Eusebio, 80,000, 60,000 regularly and 80,000 in the big games. Yeah. How many teams around the world can say that?
Yeah, and
there's not that many.
How can you say no to playing in a team like that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's an iconic club, and
definitely
sleeping giant in the sense that if I did say a sleeping giant, I think the journalist has basically said that to me, and maybe I've just said yes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't use those words. I wouldn't even use the word sleeping giant, because I mean, look, nowadays in today's football, it's very difficult to get to, say, winning the Champions League. And it's almost like the Premier League is so rich that it can attract the top players from all around. Maybe Barcelona and Real Madrid can hold their own, Bayern Munich, PSG. Apart from that, you can get a mid-table Premier League club bidding players that top clubs around the world can't match.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult for a club like Benfica to be winning Champions Leagues, but it's a massive club, and you feel it every day.
Yeah, and after retiring from football, you got your degree in professional sports writing and broadcasting, right? And you are now a sports commentator, like you were saying in the beginning of our conversation. I actually recently saw that you had an interview for Record. You talked about the whole Ronaldo situation, what's going on with him and Man U. Could you let us know a little bit more about your sports commentator career, and how did you have that interest to become a sports commentator? Because it's not a very common path for most football players. They usually go to being a manager or working on the pitch. So have you always kind of dreamt of being a journalist and having that kind of job?
I'll keep it reasonably short, because I know I speak a lot for a long time.
Please go ahead.
And have done already. So at my last club, Rotherham, I knew it'd be my last year. I always thought get to 35 and then probably retire. And mentally as well as physically, I was ready. I didn't quite know what I was going to do. Didn't know. So someone came around the clubs and said, "Look, we're starting this for current or past players, this sports journalism degree broadcasting course, and it's a fast track, but it's a degree course. You have to sit law exams and do other things." And and I just thought to myself, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm ready to finish mentally and physically, but what do I step into? And it's a very difficult thing for footballers if it's all they've known, to then suddenly not have that regular discipline and team spirit and everything done for them, and the boys are there and you can have a laugh straight away, and suddenly you're not doing anything. So I thought, well, do this course. It's a 2-year course, and then see where you are after 2 years. And I did the course. There was 20 people who started on day one. There was only 6 of us who finished. And I'm someone who I'm a great believer in trying to be as resilient as possible. And if you start something, if it's the right thing to do, you stick with it, no matter how hard it is. And I did. And by the end of the 2 years, I was doing radio commentary for BBC London. I was doing commentary and studio stuff for Chelsea TV. And I just started doing some punditry stuff for Sky Sports. So, and it just kicked on from there. It just went really, really well. I remember sitting down with Graham Souness, funny enough. We were travelling a Champions League game somewhere. And he sat down next to me at the airport and said, you want to be a manager when you're older? And I looked at him and I said, Gaffer, no chance. And he said, he's looked at me and he said, I was the same at your age. And I looked at him again and I went, Gaffer, no chance. I mean, this is even before social media. And but I could see someone, if I'm going to do something, I've got to go all in. I've got to do it properly. And although I didn't have a family at the time, being a manager or being a coach, your family has to come second. It's 24/7. You can practice or think about all the training sessions. Half the squad hate you because they're not in the team.
You never know where you're going to end up next week.
Absolutely. The journalists are firing questions to try and just get this kind of big headline. You know, someone could put an own goal in, you lose 1-0, the fans are on your back, 6 games away from the sack at any given time, and you might have to go in another part of the country or your family, or the world. So I just knew in my heart it wasn't for me. So broadcasting and media stuff has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it, and I feel very fortunate I've been in it for so long. And
do you still miss the locker room, being a player, or you're like, I was just done with that, I just want it out?
No, I didn't want out, but I don't miss it. You know, I'm a great believer in don't look back. Always try and look forwards. And if you saw in my house, I mean, there's nothing up that shows I played football. Nothing at all. I've got 3 framed shirts, and they're in the garage. One is my England under-21 shirt, one of them ones that I played in. Another one is the FA Cup final Chelsea shirt. And the other one is a Benfica shirt.
Sweet.
So they're the only 3 shirts I've got framed. They're lying down in the garage and have done for 20 odd years. So I'm a great believer in just trying to look forwards and see what it, perhaps at some point in the future, I'll appreciate what I've done. It's always lovely. I mean, as you say, it's only a year and a half just over that I was at Benfica, but whenever I go back, people seem to recognize me. I don't know why, but it's really, really nice. Really nice to know that I did well at that time. And, unfortunately didn't win the title. That would have been absolutely amazing. But
people remember you. People remember you. I was just speaking with my stepdad. He's 78, and I told him, I'm going to interview a Benfica player. He was the first English player. And I said, who is he? Scott Minto. It's like, I remember him. So people remember you.
Nice.
And if you go to Portugal, if you're walking around in the Benfica stadium, people will recognize you because you left a mark. And people, I think that's my impression. Like, this guy was good. He gave his all. Unfortunately, he was here for 1 year and a half only, but I had the feeling if you stayed longer at the club, you could have done, good things, even though that, unfortunately, that time for the club was not that good in terms of winning titles. I think people recognize you as a guy that he gave it all. He was a good player. Unfortunately, he couldn't stay longer because the club was so unstable. Also,
it was
at the time.
It was, and a £1 million bid came in, and they were like, "We want to accept this."
So
I was like, "Do you know what? Okay, if it was in the north, I'd say I'm not going anywhere." But because it was London, I was like, "Okay, let's go back home." Scott,
this conversation has been great, but before we let you go, we have some questions from our Visão Vermelha listeners. The first one comes from Bruno Francisco. He asks, in the squad, Benfica also had another left back, a Moroccan guy called El Adrioui. How was it like to fight with him for a place in the starting lineup? Because he was a good player. He had a good left foot.
Very good player, and he was the one that Manuel José wanted in the team when I first arrived, and was there. And a really nice guy. Speak English. I don't even think I'm not sure he spoke Portuguese. He spoke
French, maybe.
Yeah,
a little bit.
And I think Taha was sort of like the translator in Portuguese at times. But I'm someone who. They may be direct rivals. I almost make friends with them even more because we're in the same boat. We're it's really important to say it's not your fault that you're against me. If I, for example, join a side or a left back joins my side, it's obviously competition, but it's not down to them personally. So I always try to make friends with whoever was in my position at that club because it's like, it's the manager's choice. If you're playing instead of me, I'm not going to be angry at you. I'm going to be angry at the manager. So we're one team, we're one together. That's just who I am as a person, really.
Yeah. And I
But
guess
good guy, really good guy.
and I guess you can kind of compete with each other, and with this competition, you become better players, right? Both of you. Because if you're settled, if you're like, okay, I know there's no one trying to take my spot. Yeah, this game, I'm just not going to run that much. But if the guy sitting on the bench, like, this guy is good and he wants my spot, yeah, you're gonna perform better, right? You're gonna be a better player.
Absolutely. What I would say is, when you play for Benfica, you shouldn't need any competition elsewhere.
True.
You need to be up for it every single game. And if you're at a club like Benfica, if you don't like competition, don't go to a club like Benfica.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
True.
Don't go to a top club.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to handle that. But really nice guy. We didn't really have proper conversations, but we always got on really well. You don't always need to speak the same language to get on with someone. And he was a good guy.
That's good. Daniel Nunes, one of the guys that actually founded the Visão Vermelha podcast we're on, he asks, well, this question is one of my favorites. What was it like to hang out daily with Mr. Eusebio?
Oh, yeah, it was incredible. And I'm pretty sure it was Graham who brought him back in. And just the aura of him, really. Just an amazing person. And again, he wasn't very fluent in English. I think he spoke a few words, but just seemed a really humble guy. And, even now, you'd put him in top 10 players the world has ever seen. I think you put Eusebio in that.
Yeah.
So definitely. It was a pleasure to be, and a privilege to be on the pitch with him. Obviously, his knees had gone at the time and he couldn't sort of move very well, but just he was almost just there as the icon and the figurehead. So yeah, it's brilliant.
True. Yeah, I remember I used to go. I was also very young at the time. I was like, I don't know, maybe late teens or early 20s, and I used to watch the training, and the way he walked, his knees were so messed up. They were like, he could barely balance himself, so because of all the surgeries he had. So
well, when you think about, even in the 80s, where I sort of started to grow up, the physios were not fully qualified physios, and things were done that shouldn't have been done, and surgeries made that shouldn't have been made. So when he was 60s and 70s, where he's being kicked and this and that, and I'm not surprised he had problems after life, which is what a lot of people don't see. I work with people now, obviously sort of my age and above, or even a little bit younger, and they can't even go around in a round of golf because their knees will be sore come round hole 14. So it's what people don't always see, what happens with the player after playing.
Yeah. And the last question for our viewers, we have Rui Mascarenhas that asks, what's your favorite Portuguese food?
Well, I mean, I love the the gambas al ajillo. I absolutely love. Sort of the garlic butter on the prawns, and with the rice as well. I like meat. But I love the fish. Again, I'm sure it's called linguada delicia, with the fried banana on top of it. I think it's adobo sole. I have to say, there isn't anything I don't like.
That's good. You're not picky.
They're probably they're not picky, not picky, but they're probably my three favorites.
Okay, perfect. Well, Scott, thank you so much. We're almost running out of time. I could speak with you for another 3 or 4 hours, but we have to wrap it up soon. I just have one more question for you. So Benfica is said to have 6 million supporters. I think there's more, but that's what people say. And of course, all of them listen to this podcast. I was just kidding. Everyone listens to this podcast, of course. Any last message that you would like to leave for Benfica, and mostly for the benfiquistas that are listening to this?
Just I think what I've said before, really. I played with some very good clubs in my career, and there's some sort of iconic days and games that I've played in. But I see playing for Benfica and wearing the Benfica shirt as the proudest time of my career.
Yeah.
And as I say, if things had gone different for me personally, I think I would have stayed there for 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
But you know what? Just a 1.5 year was enough to leave a big impact on me, both professionally and personally.
That's awesome. Well, Thank you so much, Scott, for being here. It's been amazing. One of my favorite conversations, if I should say. And sometimes, like I said, it's hard for us to get ex-players to be here because I know they don't have time or not available. So it really means a lot to us at Visão Vermelha and to all the benfiquistas that you have taken the time to speak with us in such a nice way. It surely means that Benfica is still very important for you. And even like you said, one of the shirts you have is a Benfica shirt that's framed, right? And lately,
Yes.
our president Rui Costa, he has been inviting former Benfica players to come to the stadium to watch matches. So we hope to see you next time at the Estádio da Luz, celebrating a title. It would be amazing if that would happen, right?
I would love to go. I would love to see Benfica winning the title. I'd probably be working on it here in England. But I'd be more than happy to miss one game working on it and other games because I work for other broadcasters as well on English football. But I'd love to come out for a weekend at some point, definitely.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Scott, for being here. It's a true pleasure for me. We can stay longer for a few minutes if you want, but I'm just going to wrap it up and say a few words in Portuguese to our viewers.
Okay.
Então, muito obrigado a todos, ouvintes do Visão Vermelha, que estiveram connosco a ouvir a conversa com o Scott Minto. Um verdadeiro prazer falar com ex-jogadores do Benfica, mas penso que hoje esse prazer ainda foi mais redobrado. Conseguimos perceber que o Benfica ainda é muito importante e ficou marcado no coração do Scott Minto. Por isso, muito obrigado a todos. Fiquem atentos ao canal, subscrevam, façam like, essas coisas todas e viva o Sport Lisboa Benfica. Muito obrigado a todos.